A Senegalese minister has been dismissed by the president for describing all the Senegalese fighters as traitors. You're gonna find out why. Very interesting story. Mozambique, 6,000 prisoners ran away from prison, and most of them have crossed into South Africa. And this is dangerous. We're gonna find out about that. What's up, everybody? I hope you're doing good. It's a beautiful day. Thank you very much for coming back. You're very much appreciated. I appreciate you guys. You have no idea how much pleasure I get when I say, "What's up, everybody?" Even people, when they see me, they go like, "What's up, everybody?" Because they know. How are you feeling today? It's a beautiful day. Thank you. Yeah, your first time here, hey, you're welcome. My name is Zach. I don't know who you are. If you watch this video to the end, we're gonna like each other, no doubt about it. So here we talk about most of the things in Africa. We talk about what's happening in the continent. We bash Nigeria, we bash South Africa, we bash Mozambique, we're gonna bash Angola, we bash all of that. We're going to bash Kenya, Burundi, Rwanda. We talk about everybody, okay, on the same level. Some people get more upset than others, but it's okay. They all are children. We used to that. But we talk about most of the things. So if you want to know what's happening in the continent, you're definitely at the right place. So please click on the button. I think it's called subscribe. Come on, fellas. YouTube, say it again. Most of you watch videos, but you don't subscribe. Why are you not subscribed? Come on. Just click on the button. Let's go. Let's make this big. Okay, so we are in Senegal. Here's the map. Senegal is a beautiful place, lovely people. It's one of the most stable countries in Africa in terms of democracy. Very calm, lovely people, great culture. They have a beautiful culture of wrestling. They're strong men, very strong. The food, is amazing. You know, Nigerians and Ghanaians fight about jollof. They say whose jollof is better, whose jollof. The original jollof is from Senegal. It's not called jollof, okay? Beautiful culture. So if you get an opportunity, you want to travel Africa, you're looking for somewhere stable, no crime, no worries, and beautiful women with dark skin, you probably want to go to Senegal. Okay, no shade. Let's carry on. Now, in Senegal, something is happening. A minister has been dismissed for saying that all the soldiers of Senegal were traitors. They were actually traitors. These soldiers are called the African Riflemen, or the Senegalese shooters. They're very much respected. They're like heroic people. I'm gonna give you a quick overview so you can understand. African riflemen are Africans that were recruited by France when they came into Africa. So you know, in 1885, a lot of Europeans went to Berlin to discuss on how to divide Africa. They took some countries. France took these countries. Germany took these countries. Britain took those countries, and so forth. So a lot of Europeans took countries, Portugal as well, and they came into Africa. Now, when they came into Africa, they recruited African soldiers, strong men, to be part of the French army. They were not really part of the French army. They were like a sub-army of the French that France utilized for their own purposes. Now, the good story about these people, the tirailleurs sénégalais, or the riflemen from Africa, they were recruited all across Senegal and some other Western African nations. These people were used to go fight during World War. Yes. So as France was fighting Europe against Germany, they recruited these Africans to go fight for France. And in many battles where France really struggled, these people shined. Amazing, isn't it? Now, there are many tales of stories, different stories, saying that there was instances where these African soldiers were gifted weapons but no shoes. Now imagine an African man for the very first time in Europe with no shoes. Now during winter, it's drastic. Now some of the stories say it's because they did not give them shoes. Some of the other stories say the African soldiers refused to wear shoes. Now which one do you think is a probable real version? I mean, you tell me. But what happened, what was crucial in this war is when they were fighting against Germany of Hitler, by the time the French went fighting for Paris, these African riflemen were the ones that actually took Paris back from the Germans. They were very strong, very brave. You know, for the very first time, white people saw black people fighting very hard with the most ambitious and most vicious way possible. They had won Paris back from the Germans. But guess what happened by the time the French were going to walk back into Paris? You know, when you win war, you know what happened? You have to come and march, right? You need to show the population that you're back. The French general, de Gaulle, took all the black people off the picture. He removed the black people. He got all the Frenchies to come in front and look to the people, the civilians, as it was the French soldiers that won Paris back from the Germans. But in reality, people who really won that war were these African soldiers. Now, what were they promised? They were promised many things. Citizenship, they were promised money, salaries, they were promised advantages until they die, you know, insurance and stuff like that. Now, however, something really drastic happened. Obviously, after the war, many of them did not receive the things they were promised before the war. They were very disappointed and they grew very resentful. Now, after some of these soldiers asked the French to please pay them their salaries as promised after the war, guess what happened? They took a bunch of these guys, put them in a boat, sent them back to Senegal. When they arrived in Senegal, they took them to a camp that belonged to the French and they gunned them down. Yes, this is reality. It's only a couple of days ago that Macron acknowledged that we actually, you know, it's very sad what happened to these people. They don't say we're sorry we did this wrong to you guys. We betrayed you. They just say, oh, well, we're sorry of all that stuff that happened. How do you feel about that story? Very sad, isn't it? Right. It is very sad indeed. Imagine you sacrifice your life, you leave Africa, your family and stuff. You go to Europe fighting for the white man in his war, because this war was not African war. It was European war. Did you notice that when Africans fight each other, they say it's like tribal war. But when Europeans fight each other, they call it world war. You know, it's interesting. These Africans sacrificed themselves to win war for the French, but the French paid them in a way that is very drastic. Now, there's another side of the story that many people don't talk about, okay? Because they sound to me like heroes. I'm sure you're asking yourself a question. There's another side to the story that many people don't talk about. Now, they say that these people, by the time the French came into Africa, the French couldn't win wars against kingdoms in Africa by themselves. I don't know, have you ever sat down and thought to yourself, how did Europeans come into Africa and take black people into colonization? I mean, how many boats can actually really come to Africa and take millions of people? If you ask yourself, let's say 10 boats came or 20 boats. How many soldiers can come into 20 boats or 100 boats? How many Africans were on the ground for them to be subdued that way? Well, we're going to find out how. Because when the French came, they discussed with some of the guys on the local stage. They say to them, listen, we have opportunity for you. We're going to give you wealth and gifts and citizenship if you help us subdue other Africans. Yes, that's how they recruited these guys. Because, listen, they couldn't fight the war themselves, the French. They did not understand the language. There was definitely a language barrier. And there was definitely a difficulty to negotiate the way through some part of the land. And also they had no information about where other kingdoms were. So the French could not do it without the help of Africans. In other words, French and colonialists won the battle in Africa because some Africans sold other Africans. Yes. Now, that side of the coin, many people don't talk about. These very same people that later on became the African Riflemen helped French people take over some land in Africa. There's a guy named Sarvognon de Brazza. Sarvognon de Brazza was a Frenchman who conquered the Congos. Okay? He conquered the Congos not alone, with the help of the African Riflemen. Why did the African Riflemen do that? They did that because Africans had conflict within themselves. This kingdom did that, like that kingdom. This kingdom don't like this. It's exactly the same thing we see today. Oh, those people are from that country. They must stay in their country. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. And because there was beef between these kingdoms, now they come to one kingdom and say, give us some of your best men. We're going to give you favor and money and whatever. And the best men came. And that is how they went and conquered some other places. They conquered the Congos. They went to Dahomey with a Frenchman named Alfred Amédée Dodds with the Riflemen of Africa. Now, that is the reason why the Senegalese minister said that the Riflemen were traitors. Okay, and by saying that, I think he was just being playful when he was explaining. In Senegal, they applaud these Riflemen. They say they're amazing people. They represented Africa really well by going to Europe and fighting wars. They were tremendous fighters, yes. Okay, they fought for the white man really, really, really nice. They won the war. They beat the Germans on many occasions. They suffered some cause, yeah, of course, it's war. But they did really, really good. And they are praised. They are treated as heroes. Now, the question is today, are they heroes or traitors? Now, or victim. Why victim? Because France, up until the last one passed away, did not pay the money they promised to pay them the way they promised them. So you as an African, you go to Europe, you fight for the Frenchman who promises you riches. You fight the war. Some of you pass. You win the war. They don't give you the things they promised to give you. Then you come back to your country and you remember that you sacrificed some of your own people for the white man that you followed. How do you feel about that? Were they really heroes or traitors? Let me know how you feel about that. Now we're going to Mozambique, fellas. Mozambique. Here's Mozambique. Mozambique is a country I've never been there though. I'm looking to travel to Mozambique. I was exploring that option for New Year's Eve. Unfortunately, there's turmoil in Mozambique. There's mayhem happening because the elections. And the election got somebody winning who was not supposed to win the election as per many experts. Why did he win the election? Because this person is part of the main political party that kicked out the colonizers. Who colonized Mozambique? Portugal colonized Mozambique for many years and they forced the Portuguese language onto Mozambicans. That's why Mozambicans speak Portuguese. And now, the Frelimo party was the party that freed Mozambique from colonization. Now, unfortunately, in many African nations, once a party frees you from colonization, they feel like you owe them everything. Like they have the right to stay in power forever, even though they're messing up things. They're cheating, they're stealing, they're robbing the country of its element. And Mozambique is very angry because they believe another person won the election. Very recently, 6,000 prisoners ran away from the prison. They escaped because of the turmoil, the mayhem, the streets on the floor. And some experts believe that many of the 6,000 criminals that are dangerous, they have crossed to South Africa.
This confrontation with the inmates in the vicinity of the central prison resulted in 33 dead and 15 wounded. In subsequent search operations for the inmates, we managed to recapture 150 inmates who are currently in several police stations. What we expect after the escape of 1,534 inmates who committed major crimes in the country is that in the next 40 or 48 hours, there will be a dizzying increase in crime in Maputo. Increase of all types of crimes because they are specialists in all types of crimes. There will be an increase in robberies, assaults, rape of women, car theft, armed robberies, even kidnappings.
Yeah. Yes. That's not a very good... No, that's not very good news. Okay. Already, some of the Mozambicans are accused of committing crime in South Africa. Some of the violent crime. Some people even accuse Mozambicans of... You know this guy? Lucky Dube, look at this guy. Do you remember him? Great reggae music guy. Like, amazing human being. He was unalived because of a car. They wanted his car. These people didn't even just take the car. I mean, you can take the car. Just take the car. Go with the car. Why do you need to unalive somebody so you can take the car? Crazy. And what car was it? The Chrysler. You remember those Chryslers? And apparently, the people that unalived him were Mozambicans. And now, they say 6,000 dangerous Mozambicans are back. At least most of them into South Africa. Not a very good news. Let me know how you feel about this, fellas. It was a great pleasure. Remember the question, do you think these people are heroes? Are they traitors? Or are they victims? Number 3, Mozambique, 6,000 people. How do you go about that? How do you protect the people? God bless.